Hey everybody, welcome back to Challenge Call with Max and Avery. I'm your host Max.
And I am Avery. How are you guys?
All right, we know we took a little bit of a break there. Sorry for all the time off that we kind of took, but things were a little bit hectic. I was in spring ball. Avery's in his last semester of school. Um, it was quite a time, but it's good to be back. We're going to try to get you a good episode today, talking about the NFL draft. Avery, how excited are you?
Dude, you said a little break. It was a month and a half. But well needed extended break. But I am good, man. I graduate in 8 days. How crazy is that? Finally. But yeah, I'm glad to be back. I'm ready to roll. We got some football to talk about. We were just talking about this, right? We missed March Madness, a lot of trades, the draft. I think the last episode we recorded was about the NFL Combine, and that was in February. So here we are.
Hey, how perfect though. It's the same as like your TV viewership. You watch all these games and then you stop. Then the combine happens and you go watch the combine. Then you just wait for the draft. We're keeping on pace with that football lifestyle, you know?
That's fair. That's fair. But starting off, let's just kick off some NFL. This episode's going to be kind of a flow zone. We're going to be talking about the NFL draft. We're going to be talking about a couple of trades that happen. Other than that, maybe Caitlin Clark a little bit. You want to start it off with Caitlin Clark right away in the beginning?
We'll give a little shout out to Caitlin Clark right here to start things off. That sounds fine to me. Played her very first ever WNBA game. It was only a preseason game, but nonetheless, she scored, I believe, 21 points. Yeah, 21 points. I don't know her other stats. I don't even know if the Fever won that game, not going to lie. But
so the Fever lost 99-96. Caitlin Clark had 5 assists, and she hit 5 threes. So, I mean, and her first NBA shot was a deep three. Same thing she was doing in college basketball. So the cool thing is for a preseason game, that was the first time a stadium sold out for a WNBA preseason game. So
if you look at the ticket prices, like look at the ticket prices for any WNBA game, like go to any team that's not the Fever and look at their ticket prices. Every game is like $10, $5, $8, and then when that team plays the Indiana Fever, it's like $100.
Yeah, which and also like it's not even just the Indiana Fever that like the tickets are high. A lot of people are excited about the Chicago Sky with Angel Reese and Camila Cardoza. WNBA, man, I'm going to be watching. I'm going to tune in this year. I'm definitely repping the Indiana Fever. They are playing a game in Iowa City. I don't know if you noticed that. They scheduled a game against the Minnesota Lynx in Iowa City in like June. And I think they purposely did that because of Caitlin Clark.
Probably. I mean, you would have to imagine that they did. What day is that? That'd be a good one to potentially get to if I feel like paying for some tickets.
I think it's late June. I heard it on the Pat McAfee show.
Who'd you say they play?
The Minnesota Lynx.
Lynx.
I heard it on.
I don't see that in late. Oh, that's mid-July. They play the Lynx.
Yeah, maybe it's there because I know Pat McAfee was talking to Caitlin Clark about it, and hey, you know that's if that happens and if it actually finalized, like that whole stadium is going to be Indiana Fever fans.
Yes, that will super easily be just every person in Iowa will want to be there watching that game. Like that'll be insane. That's awesome. But no, yeah, I'm gonna watch their first game coming up. A couple weeks from now.
Yeah.
I did not watch her preseason game. I was too busy watching the Colonels game. So I'll be watching the first game May 14th, 7 p.m. against the Sun.
There we go. Caitlin Clark. Let's see how she does in the WNBA when it comes to the regular season. Well, you want to start the NFL draft?
Let's get into football, my favorite subject. So we have the perfect scenario right now because we don't have to decide between talking about the Bears or just talking about the first pick of the draft because Bears had the first pick of the draft. So we're going to go straight into both worlds. What was your kind of build up or like what was going through your head right before this first round pick?
So I already knew, like after we traded away Justin Fields, you knew who the Chicago Bears were taking at number 1.
Did you though? Because we talked about that there was still potential that like Washington would trade up, we'd take Jaden Daniels. Like there were other possibilities.
Yes, there was other
Technically.
possibilities technically, but it was like a 99.8% chance the Chicago Bears were going to take Caleb Williams out of USC. Um, but it was nice to live in that fantasy world that like, oh well, maybe we trade down with Washington and get like 3 first-round picks and like keep building this roster. But no, we knew pretty much that we were about to get hopefully our franchise quarterback in Caleb Williams. And the draft started. Ryan Poles called Caleb, and the rest is history. Caleb Williams is officially a Chicago Bear, rocking number 18, his high school number. What do you think, man? Caleb Williams, Chicago Bear.
I think the going to number 18 is a very respectable move. It was still his high school number, so it makes sense. It's chill, but he's doing that so Keenan Allen, like an all-pro veteran in the NFL currently, can wear his number 13. He's like, hey, that's a good sign of respect right there. Like that already off the bat is like, okay, you know what? Like that's a very respectful move. Like I really do like that move. I appreciate it. He did the Go Bears on the nails, you
Did
know?
you see the claw that he does? He goes out.
No.
It. I don't know. The Bears have been a team for 100 years, and no one has ever thought of doing this as a bear claw until Caleb Williams became a bear, and now
Well,
he does like the bear claw. And it's just the weirdest thing.
It's
But
it's just like we were talking about before we started recording. Like he does his own thing. Like
Mhm.
he's not gonna feed into like, hey, here's all the like the bear down. He's not gonna feed into like the bear down and all the like norms and whatever in place for the Bears. He's gonna go do his own shit and he's gonna make the bet like that. I guarantee you, if we're watching 5 years from now and at some point in those 5 years, like we've won a Super Bowl or two with him, like that's gonna be the new thing. Like that's
Yep.
gonna be just a Bear standard. And
Yep.
like he started, like that's the kind of guy he is. He's coming in, he's gonna start things, he's gonna do it his way, not necessarily expecting it to grow into a huge thing, but it very easily could just become the new norm for like the Chicago Bears because that's who he is.
And I'm so excited about this because like I talked a lot of crap about Caleb Williams, but one, he's showed a lot of respect ever since he got to Chicago. He's showed maturity, and he showed that he is a Chicago Bear, and he's going to live everything into the embodiment of the Chicago Bears, and I like it. The number 18 throws me off because like every time I see number 18, I think of Kyle Orton, and I'm like, yeah, this is definitely not Kyle Orton in a Chicago Bears uniform at number 18. But at the same time, like I love that he chose number 18 because he didn't want to take it away from Keenan Allen. Number 13, if you chose number 15, it would have been too much Patrick Mahomes-esque. And so he's like, you know what? Number 18, Chicago Bears.
No,
And
I
I'm excited.
love the I love to move number 18 and it really changes things, puts it into perspective when you think about like this guy's on your team now, you know, and he is supposed to be great. Like when he did the Go Bears on the nails, it's like, okay, how much we hated the fuck Utah thing, and now he's got bear down on the nails, and it's like, you know what? Like that's kind of neat. Like I kind
Yeah.
of fuck with that. Is what I think the biggest issue stemmed from one, the message, like fuck Utah is like a negative, like, you know, whatever, middle finger, whereas like bear down is just like a fun, uplifting to yourself type of thing. But even just two, I think there's just a little bit of biasy in there. Like, like I'll admit that. I like Utah. I kind of fuck with Utah. When Utah beat USC after that, I thought it was fucking hilarious because I love like people, you know, getting their medicine and that kind of like fuck Utah and Utah just beat your ass. Like, you know, fuck you. But like I think that's just a bias in the fact that I don't really care for USC and I like Utah, so we extra hated Caleb Williams. But now with him being a Bear, even if it was a negative, even if it was like a fuck Lions or fuck Pack or something, I think it'd be the same kind of like message, but we'd be kind of like, yeah, fuck the Packers, you know?
Right. And let's talk about this too. One thing with Caleb Williams too is he's coming into the best situation that a quarterback has came in the first overall ever. Caleb Williams, when he first came out, he said he doesn't want to go to a shitty situation. Ryan Poles made damn sure he was not going to come to a shitty situation. Keenan Allen, DJ Moore. We'll talk about our number 9 pick later. But we did so many things, and not even on the offense. Flus is a great defensive coordinator. Hopefully he can translate as a head coach this year. Shane Waldron, great solidified offensive coordinator. We brought him in. He's going to mentor Caleb Williams. I think, it might be a little bit of a rough start, just getting used to everything, but I think he is going to be a Chicago Bear for a long time. I think he's our franchise quarterback. The other thing, and if you look back at Chicago sports history, the three most important people in Chicago Bears, or not even Chicago Bears, but Chicago sports history, have all been trailblazers. If you look at Michael Jordan for the Bulls, trailblazer, he did his own thing. If you look at Walter Payton, he did his own thing. He was the embodiment of Chicago. You look at Brian Urlacher, he did his own thing and he was the embodiment of Chicago. You got three people that transcended Chicago history and the sports world. And Caleb Williams came in and he's acting just like those three. And
well, and that's such a big personality difference between him and Fields. Is like, yeah, Chicago loved Fields and Fields had a great character, locker room guy, etc., whatever. But at the same time, I think there's another degree where like you don't win games and everyone's yelling at you. Like, how do you handle that, or how do you take that? Fields is the kind of guy that if everyone's yelling, like the city of Chicago loves him and he loved the city of Chicago. But when he would lose a game or do something bad or whatever, and like that city turned on him a little bit, like he would freak out, like that was such a, like, it destroyed him. If everyone yells at, if Caleb Williams goes out early, there's some growing pains and he struggles and everyone starts bitching and yelling, like should have kept Fields, blah, 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 and starts like talking him down. He's not going to give a fuck. He's just going to go out there and do what he does.
Yeah.
Like he's going to be like, whatever, like I'm going to win a Super Bowl with y'all. Just wait. You know what I mean? Like that shit's going to roll off of him so easily just with that kind of like confidence and bravado that he already has, that he doesn't necessarily need the city of Chicago's love to like, feel good about himself and go do a great job. He just expects that he's going to do it and he's going to win that love over with doing it.
And the bar is so low for Caleb Williams to be successful in Chicago as a starting quarterback in his rookie year.
I don't know if I'd say that, honestly. But
well, I'm just talking about franchise records right now. You ready for this franchise record? The single passing yards is held by Mitchell Trubisky at 2,193 yards. That's easy. Like for Caleb Williams, I think he'll break that. Yeah. First year.
With two all-pro receivers and a potential like future all-pro or like, what is it, rookie MVP or whatever in the league.
Yeah.
Maybe not that
rookie of the year.
But rookie of the year. Like, yeah, he should be able to throw the ball with ease.
Yeah. The single passing touchdown is held from 1942 by Charlie O'Rourke. He threw 11 touchdowns. 11. And if you just want to go in like the franchise history, he could break the all-time season record too this year. Single season passing yards is held by Jay Cutler at 3,838, which, I mean, he could easily, with the firepower he has on offense, throw for 4,000 yards this year.
You have to think that there's going to be a good chunk of records that he is going to break.
Oh, 100%.
Maybe not all necessarily this year, but in the next 3 years, you have to think he's going to eat up just about every QB record there is.
Yeah, and then the last one is 29 touchdowns in a year thrown by Jay Cutler as well. So, like, if you look at that, that is crazy. And speaking of Jay Cutler and, like, Caleb Williams, the last quarterback, and this is irrelevant, but I mean, Jay Cutler was probably the last best quarterback for the Chicago Bears. He threw out the first pitch for the Chicago Cubs when he first came to Chicago. The last few quarterbacks that have all thrown out the first pitch for the Chicago White Sox. Justin Fields, Mitch Trubisky, Mike Glennon, Andy Dalton have all thrown out the first pitch for the Chicago White Sox. So Caleb Williams came out the other day, yesterday actually, and threw out the first pitch for the Chicago Cubs instead of the White Sox. So if this has any history, hopefully, hey, maybe he's good, right?
That makes so much sense, though. Like, do they base it just off of like what team they're more a fan of, or just like how do they like determine that?
They just come out and they're like, oh, who do you want to throw for? And they're like, oh, I want to go White Sox. Oh, I want to go Cubs. So I mean,
it's purely up to them. That's it.
Yeah. But
I mean, just the way the White Sox are doing right now, like they are about to end with the worst record in like MLB history. The Cubs probably are going to be making playoffs. Like, should pretty easily make the playoffs at this rate. Yeah. But so you have to imagine being the guy that Caleb Williams is. Like, hey, which team you want to pitch for? How about the one that's fucking good, that's winning shit?
because the Cubs, they are leading the division right now.
Yeah.
They're leading the NL Central, and that's our baseball talk, guys.
Yeah.
Here we go. But
I watch a little more baseball than I used to, purely because our offensive coordinator likes to throw it on the TV at work when games are on. So like I sit there and watch, but
and you're like, oh yeah, I am a Cubs fan. Yeah, go Cubbies. All right, man. So Caleb Williams, Chicago Bear, number 2 pick. The Washington Commanders select Jaden Daniels out of LSU.
I think we all saw this one come in. Like once Caleb Williams was gone, we all knew who number 2 was going to be, Jaden Daniels, and I think that's a good move. I think he will be very successful. I think he's going to be a very talented quarterback. What does Washington have for him as far as weapons go right now?
So they got Terry McLaurin and Austin Eckler at the running back position.
Pretty good.
And then other than that, that's pretty much it.
So he's going to have to make some things happen.
Yeah, which, I mean, they have a good offensive line. So, like, I mean, he'll be going behind a really decent offensive line. He's going to have to make things happen, but that's what Jaden Daniels does. I mean, we saw it at LSU. They had a shitty offensive line, but they had decent receivers and a good running back, and he made things happen. Yeah, this is the next level. How is this going to translate? But you can't tell me Drake May is better than Jaden Daniels. No. Jaden Daniels, if Caleb Williams was not in this draft class, Jaden Daniels would have been the number 1 pick. And there was actually a couple of rumors in the beginning of the offseason that he could be the number 1 pick still. So, I mean, he had a really great senior year. He won the damn Heisman, like on a shitty LSU team. So I like that pick, and I like that the Washington Commanders are in the NFC because I think they play this year. The Chicago Bears play the Washington Commanders, and that will be a great 1 versus 2. And I'm excited to watch these two be rivals for like the next 10 years.
Yeah, no, that will be a good, interesting game to watch. That is going to be an exciting one. Let's see, we don't have the actual schedule. We just know the opponent. So we don't know when that game is going to take place.
Yeah. How cool would it be week 1? Like a Sunday night game.
No, you don't want that week 1. You want that like
week
at 18. Least a few weeks in, let them both kind of get under their systems, get their groove down, whatever. Like you don't want to see that shit happen right away because I don't think that's going to be any true gauge of like, all right, who's more successful? Let's go get to it. Nah, they both just got there. I would not be surprised if both of these guys lost their week 1 game, just like I'm still figuring it out.
Right. Yeah. Well, and that's what I think too. I think the Bears go 1-3, but I think the Commanders are going to have a rough year. I think they're going to pick in the top 10 again, but I don't think it's going to be Jaden Daniels' fault. Like I think it's just going to be like, hey, we're rebuilding still. Like we've got a lot of stuff that we got to figure out.
We got the quarterback who's going to be capable of winning us a few games as we come down the stretch. But in the grand scheme of things, like we need to give the quarterback some weapons if we want to actually like have a winning record.
For sure. And I think these two are going to be neck and neck, and I think they're going to be great rivals for the near future.
It'll be fun to see. Now, with the 3rd pick, we have the Patriots. Did they have this pick or did they trade up for it? I can't remember.
No, so they had this pick. There was rumors that they were going to trade down.
That's right. That's what I'm thinking of.
Yeah, they had this pick, and they selected Drake May, quarterback, North Carolina.
This is the one I don't fully understand. Like Drake May was a guy I had not heard anything about all year up until like the draft was coming up or like the combine and stuff. And all of a sudden it was like, hey, Drake May is going number 2. I'm like, who? I don't get it. Also, that being said, him being taken by the Patriots just feels like such a right move.
Yes and no. He gives me Mac Jones vibes. And that's what I'm nervous about.
Exactly. And who did the Patriots take? Fucking Mac Jones.
I know, but how did that work out? It didn't.
Sure. But that's what the Patriots do. They draft these like Tom Brady's of the league. And
they're chasing the one that got away, right? Like they're still chasing Tom. And they're like, oh, well, this guy reminds me a little. I would say Drake May at his ceiling, though, reminds me of Justin Herbert. At his peak, I think he plays a lot like Justin Herbert, and I think he could be successful. At his averageness, I think maybe Kirk Cousins. But, I mean, at the end of the day, Drake May going to New England, he's going to have a shot to start. But they also have a really good mentor that is going to be teaching him in Jacoby Brissett. And so, I wouldn't be surprised if Drake May sits all year and Jacoby Brissett is the starting quarterback for the New England Patriots this year.
I wouldn't be that surprised at all either because Jacoby Brissett was doing really well with the Browns
Yes.
before Deshaun came back. It was like, why are we not starting this man? Just like they could rest it. Like, sure, Deshaun's fine. He's not hurt anymore. He can play. I don't give a shit. I'm going with the guy who's been winning games all fucking season. Like, let's go.
Yeah. But how crazy is it? 3 quarterbacks. Pick 1, pick 2, pick 3. 3 quarterbacks off the board.
Absolutely insane. The over under for quarterbacks picked in this draft was 5.5, and the over hit at 6 in the first round. Like, that's crazy.
Within the first 12 picks too, which is
Within
crazy.
the 12th pick was the 6th quarterback picked, and that solidified the over already.
It was funny too because they were talking about I was watching the first round of the draft and they were talking about, okay, so when's Spencer Rattler going to go? Because if it's at this rate, Spencer's going to fall into the first round somewhere, but he didn't, of course. But
it was like, no, that is not a pick that was going to be made anywhere near the first round. But speaking of quarterbacks being picked, the first non-quarterback picked did happen with pick number 4 by the Arizona Cardinals. Finally, Marvin Harrison Jr. was taken off of the board. A lot of rumors that Chicago was going to trade up for this one, which I love the thought of it. Doesn't make sense, though. Yeah. Like, we only had 4 picks total in this draft. Mm-hmm. We already have 2 all-pro wide receivers. Like, no need to trade up and grab Marvin Harrison Jr. just to have three like number 1 super solid bona fide receivers.
Yeah. But the interesting thing with this is Marvin Harrison only took 2 top 30 visits to the Chicago Bears and to the Arizona Cardinals. And so like he knew where he wanted to go. And he's like, I'm only going to take 2 top 30 visits. And he got drafted by Arizona. I love this pick because the last time the Cardinals drafted a wide receiver this high was Larry Fitzgerald. Marvin Harrison reminds me a lot of Larry Fitzgerald. And it's going to suck for him because if he stays consistent and he stays an Arizona Cardinal, he's probably going to have a very similar career to Larry Fitzgerald where you go to the playoffs every 7 years. You might get close to a Super Bowl. You might even play in a Super Bowl, but you're never going to win a Super Bowl. And I think that's what Marvin Harrison's fate is going to be in Arizona, unfortunately.
Yeah, we'll see what Arizona ends up doing with the whole quarterback situation thing they got going on. Supposedly Kyler Murray doesn't watch his film as he should. There was also a rumor or something that Marvin Harrison Jr. was playing Call of Duty with Kyler Murray at some point. So I mean, we'll see how this entire mess goes and plays out. But I don't have the highest hopes for him there. Yeah. Honestly.
I think, I think he's going to have a great, accolade career.
Sure. He's going to have a fantastic, hey, I'm the dude. There's seldom do you show up on a team that wins where your dude is not the quarterback. Our dude, we have a lot of dudes, but Caleb Williams ultimately at the end of the day is probably going to end up being our dude. With the Arizona Cardinals, he's going to be the dude. The quarterback's going to get him the ball when he can and whatnot, but Kyler Murray ain't going to be getting shit. As far as publicity and accolades go, it's going to be Marvin Harrison Jr. being yeah, I'm fucking carrying this team right now.
And I love that you just said it's seldom the dude is not the quarterback because that is so true. I mean, if you think about it, and I'm going to go back to the Chicago Bears real quick. If you think about the Chicago Bears last year, was Justin Fields really the dude or was DJ Moore the dude?
DJ Moore.
DJ Moore was the dude. On the defensive side, it was Montez Sweat. So, if you really think about it and you really want a dynamic player, it's usually a quarterback. You got to be a very, very special athlete to be the dude. And I think that's who Marvin Harrison is.
Yes. All right, moving along. Try to get through these somewhat quicker. It's already been about 30 minutes here. But pick number 5 by the Chargers, we've got offensive tackle from Notre Dame, Joe Alt.
I love this pick.
That's a good pick.
So a lot of things with this is a lot of people thought that Jim Harbaugh was going to be screw it. I'm going to select J.J. McCarthy. Well, you got Justin Herbert there, dude. Of course, you're going to keep your franchise quarterback in Justin Herbert. The crazy thing with this is such a Jim Harbaugh pick. This screams out Jim Harbaugh. What did he build in Michigan? big maulers that can run block like a motherfucker. What can Joe Alt do? Run block like a motherfucker. Hey, this is such a Jim Harbaugh hard nose. I'm gonna beat you to the ground and keep you there permanently. That's Joe Alt.
No,
And I
this
love
100% has Michigan Jim Harbaugh written all over it.
oh
Like, what is the one thing Michigan? You look at JJ McCarthy's highlight clips. Like, I watched the top 10 highlights of JJ McCarthy, and it was him handing off the ball 10 times. Like, this is what Jim Harbaugh in Michigan does: is they have the best O line, solid running backs behind them, and they're like, we are gonna pound it down your fucking throat. So, yes, this was a perfect pick for him, just taking O-line right away in the first round. Also, the first lineman of the draft taken. So, like, congrats. And it happened top 5. I feel like you don't do that a ton.
I hated it because, like, honestly, I kind of wanted Joe Alt at 9. And I saw him on the board. I'm like, oh, this would be great if we just get Joe Alt. But we didn't. But moving on to the number 6 pick, the New York Giants select Malik Neighbors, LSU, wide receiver. What do you think?
This was a good pick. He'll be a good guy. He's one of the guys that I wouldn't hate having, like, come to Chicago with that number 9 pick. Would he have been around? Like, he'd have been a good option. I think he's a talented dude who is going to be successful. We'll see how he pans out.
The only thing is, who's going to throw him the ball?
Like, that is the issue you run into. But
you have JJ McCarthy on the board, other players on the board, but who's going to throw him the ball? That's going to be a question mark for the future.
That's one of those things where you got to decide, like, what you need to do. Do you need to get a quarterback who has no one to throw to, or do you need to get a receiver who, like, might struggle to get the ball, but at least you got him here?
That's true. All right, moving on a little bit. Number 7 pick, the Tennessee Titans take J.C. Latham, offensive tackle out of Alabama.
Now we got 2 linemen in the top 10.
Yeah, this was probably the safest pick of the draft. Like, a lot of people had him in the 20s, but they said, like, this is a can't-miss guy, but he's never going to be an all-pro. And I think the Titans just needed a solid starter. And they're like, well, at 7, like, I think they really wanted Joe Alt here, and he was off the board. So they're like, let's just take J.C. Latham. And, like, let's not miss on a player. And I think that's why he went at number 7.
I think it's a solid enough move. Like, I don't know. I don't pay too much attention to what's going on with the Titans. I know they don't have Derrick Henry anymore, so maybe beef up the line a little bit and try to help out with another running back's run game production. But solid pick. Never go wrong taking an O-lineman.
Right. Yeah. All right. You want to read out number 8?
Let's do it. With number 8, the Atlanta Falcons chose quarterback out of Washington, Michael Penix Jr. Like, what the fuck, dude? Nothing to do with Penix or his capabilities or him being draft high. It has nothing to do with Penix and everything to do with the Falcons just got Kirk Cousins. Like, what the fuck are you doing?
Dude, this did not make sense at all. This is probably the biggest shock of the draft, going at number 8. Like, one, Michael Penix, he fell to probably being the 5th quarterback taken off the board, like in mock drafts and stuff. Like, people said J.J. McCarthy was better. This doesn't make sense for logistic standpoints either, because Michael Penix is the oldest player in the draft. He's 25. And Kirk Cousins just signed a 4-year, $187 million contract. So if you sign that big of a contract and you're there for 4 years, Michael Penix is not going to start for 4 years. He's going to be 28, 29 years old when he first gets his shot. That's insane.
Yeah. This is just a bizarre pick. Like, really, you're taking quarterback here? And not even like a young not even like a young kind of, all right, sit, learn, you got 4 years, then you'll get your time kind of quarterback. But like you said, an older guy who's like, what? And did you hear, like, they called Kirk a few minutes before the pick was in to, like, warn him.
Yeah.
Like, gee, thanks for the fucking warning. Like, I'm sitting here watching the draft on my TV. My phone rings. What the hell? I'm not getting drafted. What's up? Hey, we're going to take a quarterback.
What? See, and it would have been different if it would have been J.J. McCarthy, because at J.J. McCarthy, at least, he is 22. Like, 4 years, he's only 26, But you're right. Like, what the fuck? Like, it does not make sense, especially when Atlanta needs positions everywhere. They could have used the wide receiver. There's a really great wide receiver still on the board. You didn't take him, which helps out for us. But it doesn't make sense. But the Atlanta Falcons, did you see that the GM had to justify to Arthur Blank, the owner, right after that pick? The owner came down and like, what the fuck are you doing?
Oh, I'm sure he did
Oh,
because he's like, hey, dumbass, we have a quarterback for the next 4 years.
I just paid this guy $180 million to come play here, and you draft another one? What the fuck are you doing? Does not make sense, man.
Yeah, we will see how that works out for them. But like as you said, thanks to this pick, we got another Washington player, wide receiver Romo Duze, Bears at number 9. So this is that third receiver I was talking about, where you have like a future All-Pro kind of guy, like potentially, I should say. But this is a really, really solid, like young number 3 receiver to have. Like you've got DJ Moore, you got Keenan Allen. Those are both 2 number 1 guys who it's kind of like, all right, like we've got 2 studs. We've got our Tyreek Hill and Jaden Waddle standing across from each other. Yeah. Now we just need a really solid number 3, maybe younger kind of guy to, like be there and help out as well. And that's going to be Romo Dunze for us.
And I love this pick. Like, and you asked me in the beginning of this, you're like, what was your build up to the draft? And I was like, well, I knew Caleb Williams was going to go number 1, but I did not know who we were going to take at 9. And I was more excited about the number 9 pick than I was the 1 because it was question marks everywhere. And we get Romo Dunze, and I finally can pronounce his name, so that's good. But we talked about Marvin Harrison being probably the all-around best wide receiver in the draft, and you got Malik Neighbors, that's a speed demon, Tyreek Hill type. Well, this is the most physical player in the draft. This is a guy that's 6'3", he's 225 pounds. He's going to pair up right across from Keenan Allen, which is going to allow DJ Moore to play that number 3 slot guy over the middle because DJ is a little smaller, he's a little faster, and that's just going to open up our offense to a whole new extreme. And I'm really excited about this pick. And him and Caleb Williams are like really close friends, and I'm really excited about that chemistry that's going to build.
Yeah. And this is a huge acquisition just because, like you said, like he might not necessarily be the guy. Like we're not expecting him to come out and catch 6 receptions per game for like 100 yards or anything crazy like that. We're mostly looking at him to be a solid guy, like a solid kind of like third person in the progression who, if he's open, we can hit. But he's going to open up the field along with Keenan Allen for DJ Moore. Because what was the number 1 thing we said was we had Justin Fields and DJ Moore. Who's drawing the attention off of Moore to help open him up? We didn't have anybody.
Cool commit.
And like that's a tight end. You can cover him with a linebacker. Like I think you're all right. But so like this is having these 3 guys as our receiving core is just absolutely huge because regardless of what we know about Romo Dunze yet, we don't know. Like maybe he'll be super solid and will be like a big receiver for us who is going to get that 3 to 4 receptions for 50 yards a game, something type guy. But regardless, we can stand Keenan Allen over here and DJ Moore over here and make defenses be like, all right, pick a side. Who are you going to fucking stop? Because I'm going to hit the other guy.
100%. And I'm so excited about this pick, and I'm hoping it works out. The only thing that I was like you could have went with the edge here, like Dallas Turner still on the board. Like,
or even line. You could have taken Darryl Line a little earlier.
Because, like, if you think about it, like, I love Dunze, and I think it's a great pick, but at the same time, like, our line sucks. Like, we could have totally went with the offensive lineman. Like, I mean, there was a couple that's still on the board. And maybe if Joe Alt and J.C. Latham were still on the board, maybe we would have went with the offensive line, but they were off. And so you go best player available, and that was Dunze.
I like the move. I think it's a really solid move. I won't complain too much about, like, oh, we need an O-lineman. What do we do? Like, O-line, we are very deep in this draft with O-linemen. There were a ton of them out there, and you can always get O-linemen late, and it's fine. So I don't have a problem with it at all. But finally, going to our number 10 pick from the Vikings, I think everyone expected this. J.J. McCarthy got taken, quarterback out of Michigan. And this was a trade. This was supposed to be the New York Jets, and the Vikings traded up to get J.J. McCarthy. Pretty solid pick. I think it'll be all right there.
Yeah, he's either going to be like the next Kirk Cousins, or he's going to end up like Christian Ponder that you probably don't even know. Christian Ponder, he was drafted in like 2011. He was a bust. There's no in between with J.J. McCarthy. I don't think there's no middle ground.
I think he is the kind of guy who he's going to be a solid quarterback in a good system. Like, he's not the guy you put out there on a team with nobody, like the Jaden Daniels on the Commanders. He's not a guy that you take to be the dude. Like, he's the guy that you take to run your system.
Yep. And I mean, at the end of the day, that's what's going to happen. And solid pick. I mean, I don't got anything else to say about JJ. He probably went where I expected him to go. So
I'm gonna
number
let
11,
you do this next pick now.
number 11, the New York Jets select Olu Fashuno. I butchered that name, but he's from
You,
Penn
you
State.
really butchered the first name because you didn't even say half of the syllables that are in
Penn State left tackle.
there.
I remember watching this guy when they played Iowa, and dude, like the announcers were talking about him nonstop. He's a beast, and maybe he could have been in play at 9 if Chicago really wanted to go offensive line. I'm glad they didn't because I cannot pronounce his name. Odunze is hard enough, but this is the solid pick right here because guess what? Who got hurt 4 plays into the game or 4 plays into the year last year? Aaron
Aaron
Rodgers.
Rodgers.
He missed every single game because the Jets had a very shitty offensive line. You bring in this stud, Rodgers is going to be fine this year, at least from the left side of the line. Like he's going to be just fine.
Yep.
I think this is a great pick. The Jets needed to do this to protect their 41-year-old quarterback, and I think maybe Rodgers stays healthy. Olu stays here and he performs, dude.
Well, and not outside of that too, but they've also got they got Brees Hall still running back there, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So this will be solid, like solid gap opener for Brees Hall. You know, like get in there, get the run game going a little bit as well. Like you've got Rodgers, you should have some solid pass game. Like, what do you really need? You need some O line, need a little protection, need a little hole opening ability. Like, I think it's a good move they needed to do. Number 12, finally, our sixth quarterback taken in the first round. The Broncos took quarterback out of Oregon, Bo Nix. I don't mind it. I don't mind this pick at all. My girlfriend is a little indifferent to it. Like she doesn't really know. She doesn't like the way Bo Nix looks. He looks like a very fratty, loose. Like I don't know. She doesn't like the way he looks. But
Yeah.
regardless of that, I kind of fuck with this pick because I was pretty high on Bo Nix ever since the Colorado game, mostly because I was just like, wow, this guy looked really fucking good. And it's almost a bit ironic that now he's going to be in Denver. Like
Yeah.
he is a Colorado guy himself now. So I'm curious to see how this goes. I don't know what they plan on doing as far as the first game of the season goes because they have Zach Wilson now and Bo Nix. And of those two, it's kind of like, all right, who do you throw out there game one?
Right. Yeah. It was funny because prior to the draft, the quarterback room in Denver was probably one of the worst quarterback rooms ever. You had Zach Wilson, Ben DiNucci, and you know Ben DiNucci very well.
I know that Ben DiNucci all too well.
And then I don't remember who the third guy was. Like Ripon or something. I don't know. But really terrible offensive quarterback room. And Bo Nix, a lot of people had him late in the first round. But the
Jared
way
Stidham.
Jarrett Stidham, yeah, okay, there we go. So yeah, Zach Wilson, Jarrett Stidham, Ben DiNucci. So you look at that and you're like, oh, that's a little rough. Like Sean Payton, what are you doing? The end of the day, though, this is scary because like I think they reached. I think Denver reached, but Sean Payton had to reach because 5 quarterbacks went off the board. No one expected Michael Penix to go off the board. JJ McCarthy, he could have fell down to probably 12 in a normal draft class, but this is just like such an offensive heavy draft class.
And you're getting into that territory too, where it's like, okay, your next pick ain't coming around to the second round. There's a million picks to go. And like I said, the over-under was set at 5.5.
Yeah.
One of my players was in the office when they were showing that stat on the TV, and I was just like, oh, over. And they're like, you think? And I was just like, yeah. Caleb Williams, Michael Penix, Jaden Daniels, Bo Nix, freaking JJ McCarthy. I started listing all the quarterbacks I could think of, and I got to 6 exactly.
Yeah.
This was the 6th one taken. Like, there were 6 that you could easily think of. Like, they had to. They absolutely had to if they wanted a quarterback.
100%.
And to answer my own question, since I had to look up, like, the other guy in the quarterback room, I can see the depth chart right now. Right now on ESPN, they have Bo Nix as the starter, with Jared Stidham as the second, Zach Wilson is the third string, and then Ben DiNucci, obviously, like trailing back after that.
Yeah, he probably won't make the roster, unfortunately.
No.
But and this is also like we should have known this was coming because Bo Nix screams out Sean Payton. Because we talked about before that the Patriots are just chasing Tom Brady, right? Sean Payton's essentially just still chasing Drew Brees. At the end of the day, Sean Payton remembers Drew. He remembers everything he did, and every quarterback he had. And this is why he beefed with Russell Wilson so much, is because they did not play anything alike, Russell Wilson and Drew Brees. Bo Nix plays a lot like Drew Brees, and I think at the end of the day, Bo Nix is going to be pretty good because he's got Sean Payton to mentor him.
Yeah, this I like this. I'm curious to see how this goes. I would love to see Bo Nix come out and just tear up the NFL and like maybe not necessarily get them to a division win or anything, but get them to just an over 500 spot. You know, be a solid guy his rookie year, spread the ball around a little bit, make a few good plays, and just be kind of a promising quarterback for the Broncos.
Yeah, maybe an 8-9, 7-10 type season. Like that's what I expect on Bo Nix's good side. On his bad side, I expect him to be just like Zach Wilson, like just terrible, like awful. But I want to talk about number 13. I know we said we'll go through 12, but let's talk about number 13 real quick because he's very famous. The Las Vegas Raiders select Brock Bowers, tight end, Georgia.
I was wondering when Bowers was going to go because, as you know, big tight ends guy, love my tight ends. And he is just like the best tight end option in this draft class right now. One of the rumors I heard was that the Bears were actually thinking about taking him at number 9 because they just wanted a receiving body. Like they got a receiving body in a receiver, but what else is a receiving body? And what's probably one of the best options for a bigger receiving body out there? It's going to be Brock Bowers.
Oh, 100%. I was so confused at first why the Raiders took Brock Bowers because they drafted Michael Mayer from Notre Dame last year in the second round, and he had a great rookie year. But this makes so much sense because Antonio Pierce is such a tough-nosed guy as a coach. He wants to build that culture. Brock Bowers is such a tough-nosed tight end. Michael Mayer, tough tight end. 2 tight end sets. The Raiders are going to want to run the fucking ball. Aiden O'Connell's their starting quarterback. Gardner Minshew might be their starting quarterback. Like, they need someone there that can be, hey, like, nobody's open downfield. I'm here, 5 yard, go. Like, I'm excited for this pick.
The NFL uses a lot of different 12 personnel sets and stuff too. Like, hey, you've got a tight end. Like, what do you need another for? Well, you need it for 12 personnel. Like, you know, you want to go fucking heavy. You want to get down in 12 and fucking pound the ball and or, you know, give that presentation of I'm going to pound the ball. Okay, actually, I'm going to throw it for 5-10 yards, whatever, to my tight end down the seam. But like, no, it's a great pick. I love this pick. I think he's going to be a really successful tight end in the league. Just curious to see how he goes.
Yeah. I'm just going to read through the next couple of picks, and we're going to just kind of like super rapid fire. All right, New Orleans Saints, they take Talise Fuaga, offensive tackle out of Oregon State. I was talking to my buddy Rich during this pick. He's a Saints fan, and he hated it. It's a reach.
He didn't like it.
He hated this. It's such a reach.
So many tackles went, though. There were so many offensive tackles picked. Like, even in the first round, there were, I mean, I don't know what number we're at right now, but even just looking ahead, I see 3 more coming up real quick right now.
Yeah, and you got to, like, protect the quarterback. You got to have a solid run game, and that's what that tackles are great for. Seattle or the Indianapolis Colts with the 15th pick, they take Latu, edge out of UCLA.
Finally, a defensive guy.
14 picks consistently without a defensive player taken. And the only thing I have on this is why not Dallas Turner? Like, I mean, both edges, like, what the hell? Like, that's all I got on that.
I'm sure they have their reasons. I don't know. Maybe it's intangibles. Maybe it's who fucking knows. But this sets a record in the draft for the most picks on consecutively one side of the ball. Not even just to start the draft or anything, but just in general. At anywhere in the 300 some picks in the NFL draft, this is the longest it has ever been one side of the ball.
Yeah, which is insane. And I think there was 23 offensive players taken out of this draft as well.
Out of 32 in the first round?
Yeah. That's insane.
Yeah, that is insane.
With the 16th pick, another defensive guy. So we went on a little bit of a strain, with defensive players. The Seahawks take Byron Murphy, defensive tackle out of Texas. I like this pick. He's big nosed. Like they're going to run a 3-4 there. You need that guy.
That'll be good.
They took him. And then the pick I hate the most because I was so high on this motherfucker. The Vikings select Dallas Turner, edge out of freaking Alabama, and I am so angry because he's going to be terrorizing Caleb Williams for the next fucking 10 years, and I hate it so much.
Not if the Bears' new tackle and or our pick from Tennessee, can't think of his name right now, last year,
Oh, yeah, Darnell Wright.
Darnell Wright. Not if those two, give him a run for his, but like Darnell Wright was our first round, first overall pick last year, like first overall for the Bears
Yeah.
specifically. So
But
like,
the crazy thing with this, if you think about it, like, and you look at the rest of the NFC North, what did they go with? Like the rest of the draft, they mostly went defensive players. Why do you think they went defensive players?
because they need to stop the Bears.
They need to stop the Bears, and they need to stop probably the Lions. Like the
Yeah,
Bears and the Lions are going to be like contending for the 1 and 2 spot in the NFC North for the years to come. Okay, so we got Dallas Turner. Our Marius Mims, probably the last decent tackle, went off the board to the Bengals, which, hey, protecting Joe
yep.
Burrow, smart. The Los Angeles Rams select Jared Verse, a defensive end out of Florida State. I like this pick a lot. The Steelers select Troy Fahutinu. I butchered that. Offensive tackle out of Washington. I like this pick. He's probably going to be protecting Justin Fields by the end of the year.
And I think this is the 7th tackle that I counted. Like I tried to count earlier, but you were talking, so I was just like kind of flying through quick. But there were more offensive linemen taken than quarterbacks in this
That's
first
what,
round. So
yeah,
like we were just going back to how many tackles were taken, how deep like the tackle position was in this draft. Like, and we're not done yet. Like it's still going.
yeah. The Dolphins select defense, which I was surprised with. Chop Robinson from Penn State. He terrorized Deacon Hill when we played them. He
Who
made
didn't?
Deacon Hill. Yeah, well, yeah, who didn't? But anyways, speaking of Deacon Hill, he's transferring. If you guys didn't know. But yeah, so I like that pick. Who was that 21st pick? 21st pick was. Oh no, the 22nd pick. The
I was
Eagles.
gonna say, I was like, you just said the 21st. What do you mean?
The Eagles select Quinyon Mitchell, cornerback out of Toledo. I think this is like the first small school that like a player went from. Like,
Yeah,
yeah, right.
yeah.
First like non-power.
That's what I'm seeing. Like a non-power 5. Yeah, that's the for North Carolina. No, that's power
Well,
5.
yeah,
Yeah, this is the first.
yeah, Quinyon Mitchell, and he was a beast, man. They're comparing him to Sauce Gardner, and this is the thing, right? He's a corner, and their second round pick, they also chose a corner. Our boy Cooper
For
DeJean
DeJean, and we'll
from
get to
Miami.
that.
Yeah,
This is also the first corner taken off of the board. So
yeah,
just like we're in the DBs now, and I think
yeah.
that was about the only thing we were missing because we got receivers, we got quarterbacks, we got linemen, we got edge rush, we got D linemen. Like all we needed were some linebacker.
And
Linebacker is the one
running
thing
backs.
that still has not gone,
Running backs.
and
Um,
running backs. You're right.
But at the end of the day, Quinyon Mitchell, he is a beast, man. And the Eagles' secondary last year was a garbage fire. Like,
No.
and they probably needed 2 good corners to come in and be successful there. So I'm excited to see that. And then Jaden Daniels, second go-to receiver, comes off the board with the Jacksonville Jaguars. Brian Thomas, he's going to go to Jacksonville. He's going to be Trevor Lawrence's number 1 guy. And then probably my favorite corner besides Cooper DeJean out of the draft, Detroit Lions take Terrion Arnold from Alabama. I love this pick. I don't know if you watched the first round of the draft, but this guy literally came up and he took the mic away from the announcers because the draft was held in Detroit. And he's like, wow, look at all these Lions fans. And like, he's like, baby, I'm home and we're going to win the Super Bowl. It was cool. I mean, if I was a Lions fan, I would be pumped for this guy coming in.
And you think about some of the things the Lions have right now, like what do they have? They have who's the edge that they got out of Aiden Hutchinson. They've got Aiden Hutchinson. They've got Jack Campbell in the secondary. Now they've gotten a solid cornerback guy, like in the, I guess it's still the secondary technically, but like they've got at each level now their kind of dude that they can go on with. All right, finish up this first round.
All right. The Packers probably took the second reach of the draft. A lot of people have had him in the 4th round. Jordan Morgan, offensive tackle out of Arizona. The Buccaneers took Graham Barton, center out of Duke. The Cardinals had another first-round pick, and they took Darius Robinson, edge out of Missouri. And then the Kansas City Chiefs select Xavier Worthy, wide receiver out of Texas. How does the fastest wide receiver ever fall to Patrick Mahomes. I don't understand. I hate it. I mean, what the heck?
We've
Like,
had we've had plenty of experience with fast burner type guys though, like not being good receivers, like truly when it comes down to it. So like we'll see.
we'll see, but it's going to be interesting. All right, and then Dallas Cowboys, Tyler Guyton, offensive tackle out of Oklahoma. Baltimore Ravens select Nate Wiggins, cornerback out of Clemson. The 49ers selected Ricky Pearsall, wide receiver out of Florida. And then the 32nd pick, the Carolina Panthers traded up and selected Xavier Legette, wide receiver out of South Carolina. Have you ever heard Xavier Legette talk?
No,
You cannot understand anything he says. He's Southern, like
he's
Southern
got the
country boy. That
thick Southern, just
you
like huh.
can you say that again, like 5 or 6 times? But no, this guy's huge, man. He's like 6'5" and like 230.
All right.
So Bryce Young got his target.
Now moving into the second round, we're going to start skipping ahead to just our key noted either Iowa and or Bears picks. As you mentioned earlier, with the Eagles' second pick in the second round at number 8, pick 40 overall, they took cornerback Cooper DeJean out of Iowa. I was ever so slightly surprised that he fell to the second. I kind of get it, like sure, he was hurt last year, whatever it may be, I don't know. But hey, he still went early in the second. I have a little bit of mixed feelings him going to the Eagles. I would have liked him going somewhere a little closer that like I identify a little bit more with, even if it was like a Lions type team or something, as long as it wasn't Green Bay. Fuck that. I didn't want him on Green Bay.
You didn't want another Lucas Van Ness situation?
No.
So it's funny that you said that because like Cooper DeJean, I think this is the perfect spot for him to be successful.
It's a good spot for him.
And them taking 40th, they traded up with Washington to get that 40th pick. I think he's going to be great. I think he's going to be very successful in Philly. And the only reason I think he fell out of the top, like the first round, 23 offensive players taken.
That's a good point. Like when things are firing offense, as long as they were like your defense. I mean, shit, he was the second DB overall taken. Or no, he wasn't. We'd had a couple, but how late did the first DB go? Like
22.
Yeah. The first DB wasn't even picked in the top 20. So
to the Eagles too. So like two guys, like they did 2 corners. I want to mention one person too. The Panthers drafted the very first running back out of the draft in the second round with the 46th pick, Jonathan Brooks, out of Texas. So he was Bijan's backup and what's our guy? Roshan Johnson's backup last year. So that's a good pick. I figured I mentioned the first running back that came off the board.
Yeah, might as well. I mean, that being said, just before that too, let me double check as I scroll up a little. Nope. First linebacker was actually picked one before that as well.
Who was it? It was
Edgerrin Cooper from Texas A&M. So we have our first linebacker taken by the Packers in the second round, and then the first running back taken by the Panthers in the second round.
Well, and you know why that happens, right? You got to be a damn good linebacker because an inside linebacker, guess what? They don't get paid. We saw that with Roquan Smith and the Bears. A running back, what's their average career span? 4 to 6 years, right?
And running backs are a dime in the dozen when you truly get down to the nitty-gritty of it. Like, put them behind a super solid O-line, and, like, they're going to thrive.
Yep. 100%. Where is the Chicago Bears second round pick? I can't find it.
We didn't have one.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. All right. Well, that was our second round wrap up.
We only had 4 picks overall, and we had 2 first rounds and then a third and a fourth.
Yep. I guess let's move into the third round.
Yep. Getting into the third round. I'm looking, making sure we're not going by anybody we want to throw out there.
I guess I want to throw out one person. He was the very first pick of the second round. Keon Coleman, wide receiver, went to the Buffalo Bills. They needed to replace Stephon Diggs because he got traded to the Houston Texans.
Yeah, that'll be good for the Texans. Like, that'll be.
So hopefully Keon Coleman can kind of figure it out in Buffalo with Josh Allen.
That being said, in the third round, Broncos took an edge rush from Utah, like that, keeping it local. Oh, I skipped the Bears. That was one after the Bears pick. The Bears, with their third round pick, the 75th pick overall, took an offensive tackle from Yale, Kieran Amigdal. I don't know.
Kieran Amadaji. Yeah, that sounds right. Amadaji.
I was ever so slightly questionative of this pick, just because I was kind of like, a guy from the Ivies? like I don't know. I look down ever so slightly on the Ivy League as like,
Mhm.
I'm in the same way that I'd probably question, guy who's from Tulane or the guy earlier who's from Western Michigan. Like when I see those smaller schools, I always just have a little bit more of a reserve of like they better be an absolute killer if they're getting picked. And I think that's part of the reason they did pick this guy is just his measurables are like crazy. This is a big fucking boy right here.
Yeah, no, I'm excited too because guess what? He's from Chicago. Well, a suburb of Chicago.
And
Grew
that
up.
helps too. Like being
Grew,
local, kind of like, okay, sure.
have you seen his tweets? It's
No.
hilarious. He's just like me and you. Like in 2019, 2020, he's like, what the fuck are the Bears doing? You need to cut like the whole offensive line. You need to figure this out. And like he's just tweeting like such a fan. And he's such a diehard Chicago Bears fan. His whole Twitter was literally all Chicago Bear tweets. It reminded me of me.
Nice.
Um,
He's
and
6'5", 323 pounds.
dude, I'm excited, man. I love that Ryan Poles goes and gets homegrown Illinois, Chicago Bear fans type of
Yes.
players usually. I like that. That's
And
a great.
I mean, we've seen it happening a little bit too. Just like, yes, we've been picking a lot of those kind of homegrown Illinois guys. The Broncos, I've noticed, like they took a guy from Utah, Pac-12, took a guy from Oregon, Pac-12, like that kind of West Coast area region. Like it fits. They're kind of picking guys that are familiar with the area, the regions that they think are going to be completely satisfied and happy living in those kinds of like areas, essentially being close to home, around home, be very comfortable, not want to leave. Makes a little bit of sense. I get it.
100%. All right, the next guy I want to talk about is the Bengals pick, number 80, the 80th pick, wide receiver Jermaine Burton out of Alabama. We saw this guy perform really well against Michigan. I think he's going to be a good wide receiver for the Bengals. And why do they just keep selecting wide receivers? Like the Bengals have so many great wide receivers, and here's another one that's probably going to perform really well.
They're still trying to find a really strong number 2, I guess. Michigan's running back Blake Corum went with the number 83rd overall pick to the Rams. I was kind of wondering when he was going to go because I know he was supposed to be one of the top running backs in this draft. As we said, running backs are a dime a dozen. As we've made comments before, Michigan's O-line are maulers. So, like, is it Blake Corum? Is it the O-line? Could have been why he fell a little bit, but figured to shout that Big Ten out there.
It was weird too because 3 Michigan guys went back to back to back. You had Roman Wilson go to the Steelers, wide receiver. He's going to be Justin Fields' target. Zach Zinter, offensive guard, went to the Browns from Michigan. So yeah, no, there was a lot of moves by Michigan in that 3rd round.
All right, getting on to the 3rd round here because I am reserving this time for Iowa and Bears now. Like we're going on 4th round. We're in the 3rd round.
Hold on, one more, and then we can move on. Luke McCaffrey, wide receiver out of Rice. Christian McCaffrey and Ed McCaffrey's family member. The Commanders selected him. He's the brother. He played at Nebraska. I don't know if you remember. He was a quarterback for Nebraska his freshman year. He transferred to Rice, switched to wide receiver. He got drafted by the Commanders at the last pick, I think, of the 3rd round.
His brother was UNC's quarterback when I was at UNC at Northern Colorado. Yes, I am familiar with Luke McCaffrey.
All right, here we go.
We'll see how that goes. Interesting to see. But 4th round, let's see what we got here. I think the Bears pick became before anything else.
Nope. The Bengals at the 115th pick select tight end Eric All.
Eric All, that's right. I forgot.
Yeah.
This was a shocker because we kind of thought All was sticking around for another season.
So when it scrolls across your screen and like Eric All, tight end, Iowa, I was like, what the fuck? Like, I'm happy for him, but like, what the fuck?
Yeah,
I need him next year.
I was happy to get another guy picked. Like, I was like, yeah, woo, we picked a guy from Iowa, kind of. But yeah, I was like, oh, I thought we had him still. I thought he was coming back. But it does make sense. He had a decent season. Ostrenga stepped up huge last season with Luke Lachey and Eric All both getting hurt later in the season. So Iowa being this big, like, tight end farm that just, like, pumps them out, I could understand why he's like, hey, I got to go get in the league. Luke Lachey's coming back. Ostrenga looked really good. Like I'm going to go get in the league while I can just, start making my money.
Which, hey, mad props to him. Like, he did well last year until he got hurt. He's going to be great for the Bengals. Joe Burrow's got a big target to throw to. So,
now we get a twofer right here with the Bears, 4th round pick. 122nd overall, punter out of Iowa, Tory Taylor, our boy. Do you see Caleb Williams actually text him and he's like, "Hey, you're not going to do much punting around here."
And I saw I saw a meme. And it's like when the Bears aren't even going to use their best player, and then it's like an Iowa fan crying watching TV. Sad. But anyways, no, Tory Taylor, dude, I'm so pumped. Hey, and when's the last time a punter went in the fourth round? Let's be honest. That's
Like
like awesome.
he is an amazing. But I've seen so many punting highlights like since the draft. Just Tory Taylor pinning it in the 5 yard area. Just he hits the 1 yard line with the backspin, and it just kind of sits and drops. It like it's beautiful. But this is my absolute favorite pick of this draft for one big reason. This is finally we have an Iowa guy getting drafted to the Bears. Like, love Cooper DeJean getting drafted. Love Eric All getting taken out there. Love getting Caleb Williams and Romo Dunze. I love that the Bears finally drafted out of Iowa.
And he was the biggest name at Iowa. Like
Yes.
everybody knew who Tory Taylor is. Like everybody was like, oh, here's Tory. He's coming out. He's about to punt. I was so pumped about this, man. I am still pumped. I'm thinking about buying a Tory Taylor jersey.
Oh, 100%. That like, screw a Caleb Williams jersey, screw a Romo Dunze jersey, screw anything. Like, I'm buying the fucking punter's jersey, and I'm gonna be like, go Bears.
But no, this is going to be like an awesome thing for Chicago. I am very excited. And not only did we get the best quarterback in the draft, we got the best punter in the draft. So that's two positions that we took the best player in the draft.
And this was partially a big like really kind of want to a degree, because the last thing that the Bears truly needed was we needed one defensive line. Like, we needed a D-line kind of guy. That was the one need that was still left on the board for us. This was our last pick. So seeing Tory Taylor was kind of like, oh, that's not a defensive guy.
But I'll take it.
Partially in my head, I'm like, you know what? That is a defensive move. It's not a defensive guy per se, but like what becomes wildly important defensively outside of like talented players is just like the game of chance and flipping the field. So like, you want to talk like a defensive move, grabbing a punter who's going to flip that field for all that it's fucking worth is going to put so much relief and tension off of the defense that like this was a solid defensive pick in my eyes. You know, I'm like, all right, you know what? That just means that Montez Sweat has that many more chances to, you know, get after the quarterback, and that's going to lead to more sacks, and almost that just helps out the D-line. They're going to have to go a lot further now.
Well, and I was going to ask you this. I was going to be like, how you coach, how defeating is it when you're within the 10-yard line and you're hopping on the offensive side and you're within the 10-yard line and you're like, fuck. Like, it's got to be so defeating as a coach in a way, in a sense.
Like when you can't punch it in from the 10 and you're like, fuck, we got to punt.
No, like when like you get pinned
when
down.
Pinned back inside the 10?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Inside the 10 it's not great. Inside like the 5, like when you start getting to the point where the quarterback is lining up in the end zone, that's where you really start to get freaked out.
And
like
that's
if he's still a yard or two out of the end zone, it's kind of like, it's not great, but like, you know, I don't know. When you are truly like standing like there's the end zone and I'm back here taking the snap, like that's troublesome. You don't like to see that.
Yeah, and that's exactly what Tory Taylor brings to the Chicago Bears. Before we move on to another pick, we got to talk about the first Iowa State guy to go.
Sure.
The Ravens, with the 130th pick, selected TJ Tampa, cornerback out of Iowa State. Probably the best player on Iowa State last year. Iowa State wasn't the greatest, but they weren't bad. He's going to join old boy center from Iowa, Linderbaum, in Baltimore. So that'll be interesting.
All right. Moving on into the 5th round now. Let me see who came up first real quick, because I know we have a couple things I think to talk about in here. Trying to find it.
Did you find it?
No, I think I skipped it. 1 sec. It was the 5th round that we.
Yeah, no, it's
there it is. There it is. Okay. So, like I said, the Bears used their last pick on Tory Taylor, blah, blah, blah. But that wasn't their last pick. We actually traded future picks. I forget what exactly. 4th round. We traded a 2025 4th round pick with the Bills to get this pick, the 144th overall in the 5th round this year, to get an edge rush out of Kansas, Austin Booker. So we did end up getting that defensive line that we needed anyway.
I'm excited about Austin Booker, man. He played well last year. I think he's got good size. I think he was just a 1 year starter, though. And I think that's why he went in the 5th round. But I think there's a potential of him being that edge comparison to Montez Sweat. So you got
And
Montez on one side, Booker on the other.
exactly. Standing across from Montez Sweat, like, that's going to be a problem. You can't send your running back to help on an edge on both sides. Like,
Right.
you got to make a decision. You either got to leave one go, or you got to put a single tackle on one of them, or you got to put a tight end in or a fullback, or maybe just 2 running back. Like, you got to get more bodies if you want to protect both edges like that, or straight up run away from it. Like, boot out to the left, send the running back to the left, something like. Having both of them across from each other is going to cause problems. And I'm going to guess that Montez Sweat is going to be the guy who's going to be getting chipped by the running back more often than not, who's going to get the tight end side help to him and whatnot. So let's see what Booker can do with some one-on-one matchups here. He should have a decent-ish chance to get to the quarterback.
Yeah, for sure. And 6 picks later, quarterbacks reappear. After 6 go in the 1st round, they didn't go. The first quarterback did not go until the 6th pick. Or the 150th pick. Spencer Rattler, quarterback, South Carolina. I like Spencer, man. I think I like Spencer because I feel like he got the raw end of the deal with our quarterback, Caleb Williams, back in Oklahoma back in the day. So I am going to be cheering. And you can't tell me he won't take that quarterback position away from Derek Carr within 2 years.
Fair enough.
I think he'll end up taking it.
We had one. I got to throw out this because I just kind of noticed it right here. I'm looking at the 176th pick overall in the 5th round by the New York Jets here, and not going to say that name, but it was a cornerback and it just doesn't show a college. So I had to click on this. I'm like, what's going on here? CFL guy.
Yeah. Quantez Stiggers, I guess. Cornerback, Toronto Argonauts. Steigers.
I don't know how you say it. I'm not going to.
Tigers. But I think that's really cool. That's unique.
I had to point it out because I was just like, hey, check this out. Like, we had a dude from the CFL. Like, it's not often you see that. Normally you see like guys from college in the draft. Like, we're starting to see it in the NBA a lot. You get these guys from the EuroLeague taken, whatnot, other leagues, like moving up from the G leagues. Like, it's starting to normalize somewhat. But like in the NFL, it's almost exclusively college players that get drafted. Maybe not signed. You can see some signings happen, but as far as getting drafted goes, you don't see this a lot. So it's just kind of neat to see somebody going from the CFL, getting drafted, and kind of living out their dream of getting onto that like next level.
Right. Before we move out of the 5th round, I want to mention 2 more people. Jeremiah Trotter Jr. got drafted by the Philadelphia Eagles. His dad was a longtime Philadelphia Eagle linebacker, so he's going to play for his dad's team, which is always really cool. And the Jets also selected Jordan Travis, quarterback, Florida State. And I think, you draft another Jordan to back up Aaron Rodgers. Maybe he can learn. Maybe he can kind of be that starting quarterback for the Jets when Rodgers retires in a couple of years.
Or when he gets hurt in a couple of games and then he's the one going.
There we go. But round 6, dude.
Round 6, finally, we've got Logan Lee, defensive tackle out of Iowa, taken by the Steelers. I was happy to see him get picked because I know he's a little bit undersized for a tackle goes. He's a little bit of a skinnier kind of guy. He's not like super big and heavy. He's a little bit more of your kind of speedy. Like, he's got a decent. Does he have a decent reach, or was that another thing they were complaining about?
I think that was another thing that they were complaining about.
Yeah. Arms, his so arm length doesn't hinder him for like occupying space, making the tackle. But yeah, so he's not the biggest guy to have down there, like on the interior line. But you know what? I'm so happy for him that he got drafted. I was 100% sure it was going to happen. He was the only guy that actually did the combine.
Yeah.
Like, All was hurt. DeJean was hurt. Tori's a punter. And so, like, he was the only one I got to enjoy watching at the combine from Iowa. So I'm super stoked to see him actually get in it.
Yeah, I'm super pumped too. Like, I have a soft spot for the Pittsburgh Steelers now with Justin going there. So it's nice to have another guy that I can support going to Pittsburgh, and Logan Lee. So hopefully you see some special teams plays, like rotational guy, something along those lines.
Yeah, no, I hope he actually touches the field a little bit. I'd love to see it. But
all right,
you got somebody else?
Yeah, with the Where'd he go? Oh, the 193rd pick, the Patriots select Joe Milton, the third, Tennessee quarterback. All right. Do you remember Joe Milton? He can
Yes.
throw like a cannon, 90 yards, but he can't hit the broadside of a barn. Yeah, the strongest arm in the NFL draft fell to 193. And this is unique too because you don't usually take two quarterbacks in a draft. But the Patriots, they take Drake May in the top of the
I
draft.
mean,
They take
with
Joe Milton.
with the Patriots, like in the situations that they've been in, I don't blame them for, having a backup.
Do you remember the last 6th round quarterback from New England? Can you name it?
Tom Brady.
Tom Brady. What if Drake May is just like a bust and then like Joe Milton comes in and he's like, hey, yeah, I'm the guy.
That very well could be. But
Uh,
moving on, or you had a couple guys you said?
no, I think that's it
Okay.
for me.
Moving on to the 7th round, real quick. Very first pick in the 7th round from the Bills. Another guy who actually is in the Euro leagues. British guy. Offensive tackle. 6'7", 301 pounds. Doesn't say where exactly. Yeah, it just says the Brit. But yeah, another dude taken from the Euro League, not from a college. Just kind of neat to see. Thought I'd mention that. But
Uh,
did Iowa have any more that were true picks?
I don't think so.
Not that I'm seeing here.
I got two guys I want to mention real quick. Trey Taylor, safety out of Air Force, the first service academy guy to go. So that'll be cool. And also Brendan Rice, Caleb Williams' #1 target last year, and the son of Hall of Famer Jerry Rice went to the Los Angeles Chargers. So like that'll be interesting to see if he can be anything like his dad. Probably not. I don't know. Maybe. But Jerry Rice, Hall of Famer, and it'd be interesting to see. And Mr. Irrelevant. We got
to mention the Mr. Irrelevant.
With the 257th pick, the Jets select Jalen Key, safety out of Alabama. That's cool. I mean, hey, maybe he's a good safety. Who knows? I don't even know if he started last year, to be honest.
I have no idea. I know they talked about him a little bit, obviously, with Brock Purdy being the big Mr. Irrelevant guy from last year and all the things that he's done and blah, blah, blah. So they had to, make a spectacle of it. Like, this pick matters too. Like, getting drafted is getting drafted. Like you made it. Like, that's a win. But tying on to the end of that now, sorry, I got to go to Twitter to look this up or figure it out. But Iowa also had a few different guys signing with different teams. Not necessarily that got drafted, but they did end up signing with somebody. So let me scroll down because they actually post a lot. And I will find some of those signings. I know Joe Evans was one of them. I don't know if he was the first one, but he was one of them that went.
Well, when you're looking for this, I'll read off the list of the Bears undrafted signings so far.
There you go.
So Austin Reed, quarterback out of Western Kentucky, was our first undrafted rookie quarterback that we signed. Well, it worked out decent with Tyson Bagent. So, maybe, we'll have another solid rookie quarterback. Austin Reed put up heck of a numbers for Western Kentucky last year. Reddy Stewart, cornerback out of Troy. And then we also got a non-U.S. guy. We got Theo Benedict, offensive tackle from the British Columbia. So that'll be cool to see. Brendan Bates, tight end out of Kentucky. Keith Randolph, defensive tackle out of Illinois. Jamari Cromar, defensive end out of James Madison. Carl Jones, linebacker out of UCLA. Odio Halara, a wide receiver out of Bowling Green. And Ian Wheeler, running back and kicker returner out of Howard. So,
nice.
Yeah, that's who we've signed so far from the undrafted side, so that'll be interesting.
All right, now for the Iowa guys who have been signed. First one was Noah Shannon, signed by the Raiders, which It fits. I can see it. Just he seems like he'd be a good Raiders kind of guy.
Didn't he get busted for gambling last year?
Yes.
And now he's going to Las Vegas. Nice. So,
yeah. One of the guys who had to sit and was busted for gambling, all that, whatever. Yes, he is going to Vegas now. So,
nice.
let's hope. I don't know. He's figured it out a little bit, or doesn't get caught this time because more people do it than you actually think. But the next guy signed was actually Steven Stylianos. He went to the Titans. Not as well known of a name. I forget exactly. I think he's a linebacker or a defense. I can't remember. No, tight end. He is a tight end. or at least he came in as a tight end. He might. I don't remember if he moved, but I know he's somewhere in that semi group. I just can't.
Yeah,
I can't
eight
think of it.
receptions for 96 yards last year.
Okay, yeah. So he was a tight end. I was right. But no, yeah, he got signed to the Titans. I did not realize he was like going. I don't know. Is he a senior, or did he elect to go
Oh,
early?
yeah. It's weird. He started his Iowa career in 2017, played in 2018, sat out 2019, played in 2020, played in 2021, sat out in 2022, and then played in 2023.
Okay, interesting. I didn't
Yeah.
realize he was that old when I was there, but good for him. Glad he went. Next guy we've got, Joe Evans, is going to meet up with Tyler Linderbaum in Baltimore. He was signed by the Ravens.
All right.
That'll be a good one. And then I think that was it. I think he was the last. Yep.
What about that kicker that we had? That
Drew Stevens?
No, the other one, the no name that won us that one game. I don't remember. You know who I'm talking about? Kicker. No name.
I'm not 100% sure. I don't remember what you're talking about now.
Don't worry about it.
I remember there being another kicker, but like
No, not Caleb. I'll find it. Don't worry about it.
all right. But no, those were the Iowa guys signed. So very successful NFL draft. I think the Bears did a fantastic job, A+ with their draft strategy and all that they did. And then Iowa, good chunk of guys. You know, it didn't seem like we had a super heavy class to draft from or like impact on the NFL, whatever. But I am very satisfied with the guys that we sent in, and it has been an hour and a half. So that is all the time that we've got for today. So we'll see you guys next time.
I got one player though before.
All right.
We got a quarterback out of UNI, Theo Day, signed with the New Orleans Saints as well.
There you go.
We'll see. But I figured I'd mention a UNI guy.
Yeah.
Theo Day played well for UNI. And so, hey, yeah, give him a shout. But anyways, yeah, guys, that's all I got. Let's do instead of bear down, how about the Bears?